Hey, what's up you guys, Stoutmeister here, and today's Shut the Fuck Up is dedicated to iEmanuella, and this little video that she did back in December in which she took down from her channel since then. Her channel's pretty much closed down ever since the whole controversy with her video, but thankfully there's a mirrored version of this because I really wanted to do a commentary on this video, but I was busy with holiday breaks and all that good stuff, so now that 2014 is here, and now that I'm able to do videos a little more, I feel like doing a commentary on this video, because there are certain things that iEmanuella said in her video that is just so appalling that these issues need to be addressed. And the way that she's another one of those Christians that uses the Bible to justify her own means, and the very fact that she takes scientific statistics and twists them the way that she does, like a lot of Christians that call themselves creationists do, is deplorable. Now, let's get on with this commentary now, shall we? Hearts.
Hey guys, so Phil Robertson, aka the Duck Commander, is currently under fire for his latest interview with GQ magazine where he gets real about homosexuality.
I'm pretty sure that was all just a publicity stunt at this point, just to get more ratings for the show and all that other stuff. And since that whole thing, he's back on the show. Now, whether they continue to do the show or not has yet to be seen, but from the looks of things, there might be some controversy as far as that whole family being fake, meaning that they aren't really these redneck hunter type people that they put themselves out to be, which wouldn't be too surprising considering that the majority of reality TV is fake anyway and meant to stereotype certain groups of people, in this case Louisiana, and shows like these tend to make all Southerners look bad anyway, so, yeah.
Giving his usual raw and very unfiltered opinion about a quite sensitive subject, which shouldn't be such a surprise for the entertainment industry.
I will agree with you there. It should not be a surprise to the entertainment industry that people like this have the views that they have, considering the fact that a lot of Southerners, especially the conservative, right-winged Christian Southerners, have the Bible-belted views that they have. And I'm gonna go as far as to say that A&E was aware of this, but they wanted to exploit it as much as possible to make all those people look stupid, to make all Southerners look stupid. And if a television network is actually surprised that people like Phil Robertson have the views that they have on homosexuality, then they're stupid for thinking that way.
However, the internet flooding criticism he's received, in addition to his suspension from the Duck Dynasty reality TV show by A&E, has left quite a few people outraged. Bobby Jindal, who is the governor of Louisiana, the hometown of Phil Robertson, had this remark, quote, "It is a messed up situation when Miley Cyrus gets a laugh and Phil Robertson gets suspended." GLAAD promoters of the LGBT community respond with this: Phil and his family claim to be Christian, but Phil's lies about an entire community fly in the face of what true Christians believe.
I will agree with you on that as well. The GLAAD and the LGBT watering down Christianity the way they are to promote homosexuality the way they are, I don't like that at all, considering the fact that both testaments of the Bible are very against it. Now, I am not a Christian anymore, but I will say that the LGBT is pretty ignorant for doing what they've been doing, trying to portray Christianity in a certain light, when clearly the Bible does not support homosexuality. Not saying anything bad about homosexuals, but it's very misleading to tell a homosexual that they are one of God's chosen people, telling them that you can be a homosexual and a Christian, when both testaments tell you that that's impossible. But then again, like I've said before, Christianity is a walking contradiction religion, and if somebody watching this video is going to take what I say as an attack on Christianity and anyone that follows the Christian God, please don't. I realize that there are Christians in this world that do not think the way that I'm saying. I realize that there are like-minded, rational-headed Christians. Some of my best friends are Christians. But at least they don't go around saying that they follow certain portions of the Bible and then do otherwise.
They went on to say he clearly knows nothing about gay people, but the truth is the LGBT community knows nothing about what real Christians believe.
That is something I can agree with as well. The LGBT either does not know true Christianity, or they're twisting it. But like I'm saying, I'm not totally bashing the LGBT, saying that, like I said, it's very misleading to call homosexual that practices the Christian religion one of God's chosen people to go into heaven.
So let's get biblical. Leviticus 18 verse 22. You shall not lie with a male as with a woman. It is an abomination.
That's a nice cotton shirt you're wearing, and in which you can't wear polyester. You can't wear anything with cotton. Do you also happen to eat seafood? Do you also happen to eat anything pork or watch football or play football? Because footballs are made of pigskin, also in Leviticus. But then again, just like a lot of Christians like you just say, oh, we don't go by the Old Testament anymore, that's all just history. That's history, Stoutmeister. When you tell us to go by Leviticus 18:22, and when you tell us to go by the Ten Commandments, which is in Exodus, the second book of the Bible, the second book of the Old Testament, you show yourself as a walking contradiction when you do this.
Leviticus 20 verse 13. If a man lies with a male as with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination. Now for the New Testament, 1 Corinthians 6, 9 through 10.
Thank you for not using the Old Testament for your example on how homosexuality is not to be practiced if you are a Christian. Thank you for being one of those Christians. Thank you.
Do not be deceived, neither the sexually immoral, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor men who practice homosexuality, nor thieves, nor the greedy, nor drunkards, nor revilers, nor swindlers will enter the kingdom of God. If that's not enough, let's look at 1 Timothy 9 through 10. We also know that the law is made not for the righteous, but for lawbreakers and rebels, the ungodly and sinful, for the sexually immoral, for those practicing homosexuality, for slave traders, and liars and perjurers, and for whatever else is contrary to sound doctrine.
Timothy also says that a woman is not allowed to teach. And guess how many female teachers there are in today's society, including a lot of Christian schools. I went to a Christian high school. There were way more female teachers in the Christian high school than male teachers. And yes, it is in the actual Bible, if you actually take the time to read the Bible. But then again, what are you taught in church when you go to church or when you go to Christian school? You're not taught to actually read the Bible. You're taught to go by certain scriptures in the Bible. And for anybody that's going to say that I'm a liar, just see for yourself. Go to a few church services and you'll see for yourself. They're not going to directly say not to read the entire Bible. They're going to encourage you to read the Bible, but they're going to tear you away from the Bible at the exact same time by pulling excuses out of their asses by saying things like, oh, this part of the Bible right here, that's just history. You can't take that literally. They're going to come up with any excuse that they possibly can to tear you away from certain parts of the Bible that are shown to be questionable. Just see for yourself.
One of the most requested topics I received on iEmanuella's has been homosexuality. For the longest time, I tried to avoid it. I reasoned it this way. For me, it was like saying murder is wrong, or adultery is wrong, or the sky is blue. Yeah, it never made sense to me why homosexuality was pulled out of this category and labeled okay by mainstream media. It was very impersonal to me, so I figured let somebody who has a burden for this deal with it. But here I am. The reason why I decided to talk about this, recently I discovered that homosexuality was a lot closer to me than I ever dreamed. And I'm finally ready to get real about it. One day, all of a sudden, it put on a face that I recognized and I cared about. It was extremely unexpected. It shook my world, and all of a sudden, homosexuality became personal. My feelings towards homosexuality has not changed, but my feelings towards homosexuals has.
So just let me see if I'm getting this right here. Just because somebody personal to you has either come out as a homosexual or someone that was a homosexual screwed you over in some way, all of a sudden you change your views on homosexuality the way you have for that sake. I don't know if I'm right in saying that, but if that is the case, and I say with the keyword if that is the case, that is very ignorant in the fact that you would stereotype homosexuals just because a few homosexuals have screwed you over, or somebody came out to you as a homosexual and hasn't done anything wrong to you other than being open about their sexual orientation to somebody that they consider a close friend or a close family relative or whatever the hell. That's not a reason to stereotype all homosexuals.
Which I feel has distinguished my approach from the majority of my Christian brothers and sisters. When this person built up the courage to be real with me about this issue, it was so unexpected, but I knew for a split second I was feeling what Jesus feels towards people who are struggling with this. It was pure, unutterable love and concern. Not the love that pats on the back and says it's all good. It was the love that seeks to reform. The world, and especially the LGBT community, has this fluffy, watered-down idea of what Christian love really is. Being a Christian means standing up for what is right.
That's not just a Christian thing. It's a universal truth in which you should stand for what you think is right. But again, I'm just one of these types of heathens that thinks that someone being a homosexual doesn't really hurt anybody for the sole reason of them being a homosexual. I judge the person based on their character, not based on a sexual orientation, color, gender, whatever the fuck.
Why do you think Christ was crucified? His love didn't infuriate anyone. It was his stand against the pride of his nation, fueled by self-filled desires, that got him crucified. I believe that homosexuality as a practice is a blatant attack on the character of God. Two things were instituted at creation: the Sabbath and the holy union of marriage between a man and a woman.
Oh god, here we go with the institute of marriage again. Good lord. As far as 40, 50, 60 years ago, it was very common for husbands to have numerous affairs on their wives and girlfriends just because they saw women as their property, and as such, they could do whatever they wanted with no consequence. Because divorce wasn't that common back then, and if a woman wanted to speak out against a man that was cheating on him and that was treating her like shit, you were looked down upon if you did that shit. Thankfully, with women's rights and all that other shit, that's decreased. Now, that's still an issue today in American society, but not nearly as much as places like the Middle East. But, yeah. The Bible also makes it very clear that women are equivalent to property. It's not something that's new. It's been around since the dawn of time.
Time and time again, God identifies his relationship with us as a groom to a bride. It is holy, sacred, and designed with a purpose. Today, people believe that if you were born or grew up having same-sex feelings, that somehow or in some way it justifies the practice. However, the Council for Responsible Genetics has this to say: the scientific argument for a biological basis for sexual orientation remains weak. Many people struggle with anger issues since childhood. Does that justify them walking into a school one day and shooting 20 kids?
Now, I know you did not just fucking compare homosexuality to murder. People that do this shit infuriates me. I've even been in discussions with people that have brought this point up to me. They brought up the point of pedophilia and murder, and yes, she does bring up pedophilia in this video as well. I've heard from numerous people that tried to debate me on homosexuality the whole idea that homosexuality is equal to pedophilia and murder by using that same bullshit argument by saying, oh, pedophilia, the feelings of pedophilia are natural, but that doesn't make it right. No! Pedophilia is not right because lovemaking requires consent. A child especially a child that's prepubescent, has no idea what sex is, does not know what sex is, therefore it cannot consent to sex. However, the predator that's going after the child in such way knows damn well what they're getting themselves into. They know that it's wrong, but they want to do their desire anyway. It is not the same thing as homosexuality, because homosexual love requires consent from both parties. If the homosexual relationship is a monogamous relationship, if it's a polygamous relationship, consent is still involved. Pedophilia only requires consent from one party, referring to the adult that is a pedophile. The child has no idea, no fucking idea what sex is, no idea behind the intentions of the predator. Same with murder. Obviously, with murder, nobody wants to be murdered. Nobody wants to be murdered. The only one consenting to murdering is the murderer. The victim doesn't want to be killed. The victim's family members, the victim's friends, don't want their friend or family relative to be murdered. What kind of fucking bullshit comparison do Christians like you... Why do Christians like you use these examples? For the love of God, use better examples in your arguments.
Desire does not excuse behavior.
That's a good point you would make if you didn't have such bullshit comparisons.
Many people struggle with a desire to touch people. Does that justify molestation?
I just made the point earlier. It requires consent.
Others struggle with sexual desires towards children. Does that justify pedophilia?
No, it doesn't. I already made my point about that earlier.
Whether we like it or not, there was a time when homosexuality was not okay.
There was also a time where it was perfectly fine for fathers to beat their wives and children if they fucking felt like it. That doesn't make it okay, but it was more common back in the fucking 20s, back in the 50s, and way, way down in the past than it is now. It wasn't okay then, it was just more acceptable then, and women were looked down upon a lot more than they are now. Hell, today, women have a lot more rights than they had 100 years ago, than they had 50 years ago. They're able to speak out if they're being abused a lot more. Fuck!
We have to ask ourselves, are we going to reach a place in time where pedophilia or molestation will be justified?
Nope. 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 NAMBLA can try all they fucking want. It's not gonna pass. There was even a rumor in which pedophilia became a sexual orientation at one point. I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard it was a rumor, but I don't think pedophilia is ever going to reach a point in which it will be okay to have sexual thoughts or to attack children in a sexual way, because like I said earlier, consent. Consent.
Whoa, hold up. Homosexuality is different. It's not hurting anyone.
Oh my god, this is the part of the video I was talking about earlier with scientific statistics and the way that this bitch twists it.
Not hurting anyone? In 2005, according to the Joint United Nations Program on AIDS and the CDC, in San Francisco, 90% of all new AIDS infections are among men who have sex with men. In Los Angeles, 71% of those living with AIDS are gay or bisexual men. Not to mention the more than 50% of all AIDS transmission in the US to be due to male-male sexual contact.
That doesn't make homosexuality bad, you stupid cunt! Black people, there are statistics for this too. Black people and Hispanics, black people and Hispanics, the gangs that are in America have a population of black and Hispanics that's way higher than white people. Does that make those races evil? No, it doesn't. Homosexuality, the sexual orientation, is not what's causing HIV to go rampant. It's the irresponsibility of people fornicating anyone that has a pair of legs, whether it be a homosexual fornication, whether it be heterosexual. It doesn't fucking matter if homosexuals have a higher HIV rate, or heterosexual, or black person, or whatever. There was even a point in time in which black people had the highest HIV rate. I believe it's still higher than white people. I'm not sure. I'll have to look into that some more. But that doesn't make the black person or the black race evil. It doesn't make being black not okay. So why the fuck are you gonna use homosexuality in that way? It's a fucking orientation. It's not the sexual orientation or the color of your skin that makes a sexually transmitted disease go rampant like that. It's the very fact that the person or the people in that fornication, they're being irresponsible with sex. They're fucking anything that moves.
Last I checked, AIDS hurts.
And you had to use the starving child in Africa picture right there. Wow.
I understand, like I've never understood before, that it is indeed a struggle. But Jesus did not come down here, shed his blood, and give his power so that people could be overcome or given to weaknesses. For those of you fighting it, I will not venture to call you a homosexual. You are a man or a woman created in the image of God who happens to be suffering with homosexual feelings. I don't care what mainstream psychology is saying. We know who their sponsors are. The same way you teach yourself to suppress feelings of hate, murder, and fornication is no different from this. This is something so important. Heterosexuality should not be the goal of a homosexual. Holiness should be their goal.
Wait, heterosexualness shouldn't be the goal of the homosexual, but holiness? What? What? Heterosexuality should not be the goal of the homosexual, but holiness. But in order to be holy, you can't be a homosexual. Therefore, you have to be a heterosexual, God-fearing individual in order to be holy. Oh my god, the logic in this video.
Your cure is in Jesus, not in a heterosexual relationship. And when you seek Jesus with all your heart, you will naturally fall into God's original plan. Don't be afraid that you'll never be happy. That is a lie from Satan. Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, to give you a hope and a future." You say, "It's too late, I've gone too far." In the presence of God, you are not condemned, you are transformed. 2 Corinthians 5:17 says, "If any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. Old things are passed away, behold, all things are become new."
Oh my god, and if you fall into the holiness of Christ, all you have to do is accept Jesus into your life. Being a Christian is not the only way to reach God's salvation. I am sorry. But if it requires a change of heart, if it requires you to worship God, go to church, if it requires you to deassociate yourself from people that are unholy, if it requires you to behave in a certain way, accepting a God is not the only way. In order to accept that God's son in your life, you have to change yourself for that particular deity.
But you say, "I can't change." Philippians 4:13 says, "We can do all things through Christ, which strengthens us." Homosexuality is a major inconvenience.
It's an inconvenience for you. How does this affect you personally, other than that one incident that you talked about in which the person opened up to you about being a homosexual? How does that affect you personally? Did this person try to come on to you? Did this person try to try to get you to partake in a homosexual activity? I mean, it's not okay, obviously, if they're trying to push that viewpoint on you, if they're trying to push the idea that you should partake in a homosexual activity, but that doesn't mean you gotta just twist your views like that. That's based on the individual, not on the freaking sexual preference. Christ almighty!
I understand that. But you are not stuck. You are not a victim. You are loved, and there is an amazing plan for you. In the end, it is your choice. But no, there is hope.
Here we go again with the heart and the whole, it's your choice, but it's part of God's plan, and blah blah blah. And again, one of the basic contradictions, God's plan versus free will. Lord almighty, I'll be going on forever with this fucking video. But I'm just gonna end it right here, since I feel like I got my views across already. Jesus fucking Christ, this was a lot to get out. Muggy, you know what to do. You know what to say. iEmanuella's. Shut the fuck up. Get your head out of that tight cut hole and realize that not all people that are homosexuals are these fucked up people that are just trying to change everybody. Now granted, there are people in the LGBT that do mislead homosexuals into believing that you could be a homosexual and a Christian at the same time, when in fact They're either doing this because they're ignorant on the subject, or they're intentionally misleading people for the sake of promoting their little organization right there. And to Christians like you that continuously use the Bible and continuously twist the statistics that are actually being done with the whole HIV thing, really? And stop using the Bible solely to get your points across. Now, granted, I will give you props that you actually used scientific statistics, but the way that you used it to describe all homosexuals are harming people, it's not the homosexual. It's not the homosexual sexual preference that's hurting people. You do realize this, right? It's the irresponsibility of the homosexual or homosexuals that is the reason why HIV is rampant. Like I said earlier, there was a point in time where blacks were blamed for HIV as well, when we were trying to defame the characters of colored people. But guess what? We don't think that way anymore. I better stop right now before my head just fucking explodes from this stupidity. Now, come up with your own shut the fuck up line, and cheers. Today's thirst quencher and energy provider is brought to you by Monster Call of Duty Ghosts Can Edition. It's fucking amazing. That's all I gotta say about that. Now, stay tuned for more videos. Take care. See you later. Cue an epic outro music now.